Good morning, everybody. John Delarose here, the leading Hispanic voice in science fiction. Bona fide minority who can talk about these sort of things, right? We're allowed to talk about these sort of things. So I'm gonna be making my my protein shake this morning. Well, I'm gonna try to. I need like a stand for my my phone here. So I start off with a base of banana. And we're going to talk about Cebulski and the fake news controversy in a second. But as I do this, I'm going to make my protein shake here. So I've got that. I got my banana. Go to the fridge. I grab unsweetened almond milk. All right. I gotta take care of the protein shake first, right? I mean, if I don't do this, then I don't have my energy for the day. I actually get the next thing I do, I get frozen berries from Target. This is how it tastes okay by doing this. I get my frozen berries. Gotta open this. I got scissors. Hold on. I get my frozen berries. Is this what Cebulski does in the morning when he? I don't know. That's what I do in the morning, though. All right. So I grab like a handful or two of berries right here for my protein shake, for my taste. And the frozen also adds a nice consistency to it. That's why I use frozen berries, not regular berries. But I'm almost done. I'm almost done with my shake here, guys. Almost done. I got one more thing. So the next thing is really the protein element of the protein shake. And so I've got flaxseed and hemp seed. Now these things are freaking loaded with protein, if you didn't know, and they're super good for you. I usually put chia seed in as well. So I grab a spoon. I just get a heaping spoonful of each of these. Yeah, I really need a stand. I should do this more professionally because there's people watching, but you know, whatever. So there's my hemp seed. I'm running low on hemp seed. I'm gonna hold off on a little more of that, but I'll make up for it with more flaxseed, spoonful, and maybe a second spoonful here. And that's my protein shake, all right? We're gonna get this going, drink a nice little healthy protein shake, get us going, get our energy going for the morning so we can talk about Cebulski. My hard work is hard. I'm getting way skinnier, I can tell. Thank you. Cool. All right, so instead of eating like a waffle or whatchamacallit, or cereal or you know, just something with just like a lot of processed sugar, I've just been eating this stuff, and you know, it works, I gotta say. So Cebulski. All right, so I've been talking about this a lot on Twitter. I tweeted a bunch about it yesterday, which I think I had some of my better tweets ever in regards to that. But if you didn't see the news, he's the new Marvel editor-in-chief. He's a guy kind of everybody likes. Our side likes him. The comic pros like him. You know, pretty much everybody likes him. So, nice. Fake news bleeding cool. Fake comic news bleeding cool. Had to, of course, rock the boat because this is what Rich Johnston does. He just stirs up shit where there's no shit, right? And so he went through and he found some deal where, like, I guess he, domo arigato, Mr. Cebulski. I would love Mr. Cebulski to watch this and hang out. So I'm rooting for the guy because I want to make Marvel great again. And at least he doesn't seem to be crazy. So, but Fake News Bleeding Cool ran this article about his, I guess he had a pen name a long time ago, and he used a pen name for a lot of his writing because he was doing editorial on the Marvel Comics. Who knows why he did a pen name? People do pen names for all sorts of reasons. And his pen name was, as the title says, Akira Yoshida. So, I mean, it's such a ridiculous name. That's what makes this the fake news more than anything. So, like, people don't really have names like that, but people don't really have names like that for real. So Akira is obviously everybody understands that Akira is like the biggest, most popular anime of all times, right? So it's not a real name. It's I mean it is, but it is definitely a reference to the anime. I mean, I'm on Gab. I go by the moniker Otomo, Otomo, who is the manga artist and writer of Akira. I mean, it's a pretty hey, thank you. It's a pretty standard thing. It's like a non-controversial thing, right? So Cebulski made a bunch of comics under this moniker, and it he did X-Men, Kitty Pryde, Shadow and Flame, which was a pretty badass comic. He did Wolverine Soul Taker, another badass comic, right? Marvel Adventures Fantastic Four, he wrote under it. So he was doing that, right? And he was also part of the editorial of the Marvel Mangaverse. I mentioned this on Twitter too. The Marvel Mangaverse was solid. That was good comic books. So it's all just good books that everybody loved like 10 years ago. There was no problem with it. They weren't like the hyper literary ones that were like the big event ones that we remember these days, right? And that's what it comes down to. They're not the books that we're going to remember. I mean, I'm going to remember them now. I'm actually going to reread these because these were awesome. I remember how awesome these were. But overall, they're not the ones that get hyped by sites like Bleeding Cool. It's not like the House of M or the Civil War or the ones that get hyped by the media. These were just like fun books that like, because there was no controversy involved. Remember, Marvel doesn't sell books. The only time they ever get mentions by the media is if they do some weird controversial bullshit. So it's pardon my language. But that's the only time they get mentioned in the media. Think about it. The last 10 years, I mean, outside of movies, when does Marvel Comics ever get mentioned? Ever, by anybody, right? It's only when they do something controversial. So these non-controversial books kind of fade into obscurity. And some of them are good, some of them aren't. But Akira Yoshida's books, or C.B. Cebulski's books, were actually pretty good and competent, which inspires me to believe that he might do a good job as editor-in-chief here. As we, we're not going to see anything about his job in editor-in-chief. I think people have mentioned this. It's going to take a year. I mean, we've had Marvel plans out 2-3 years in advance, and before we can even start to see changes, it's going to be a year from now. So making any idea, making any idea about his job or what he's going to do at this point is all speculation. We can only look at his editorial work in the past, and it's been pretty good. And he hasn't really signaled that he hates all of us on Twitter, which is good. And he's written good books in the past, and that's it. So as Edwin said here a minute ago, Bleeding Cool decided to milk a controversy out of this where there was no controversy. Rich Johnston is about the most dishonest. He's one of the most dishonest people in the entire media. He is really bad. I've had run-ins with Rich Johnston. I try to be nice to the guy. I really tried hard to be nice to the guy. But I mean, he blew me up when I had at the time I had like very little following, and he blew me up for no reason and sicked a bunch of trolls on me. But so he did this, and then of course, like as soon as like people saw this is how the media works. That one person makes a little controversy thing and goes, "What if this is racist, sexist, homophobic, Islamophobic, xenophobic, deplorable?" And as soon as one person does that, the rest of the media, like a bunch of little like monkeys, just circles around that. And then repeats it. And as they repeat it, it gets grander and grander and crazier every time. And that's what happened this time. So this happened. IO9 picked it up, and then IO9 made it into real outrage that this guy took a pen name. That's all that's happening here. Is the guy took a pen name for a few books. And lots of people take pen names for books in publishing for different reasons. A lot. One of the things that all these media outlets love to champion is in the 60s and 50s and 70s, like Dorothy Fontana, right? From Star Trek, took DC Fontana so that she would not appear to be a woman. So a lot of people in the past have taken pen names to appear to be something else, and it's always been hailed as the media as this is great, this is brave, this is breaking the barriers and doing something about it. Now, as soon as a white man does it, like... Outrage! So obviously they don't care about somebody like making pen names that appear to be different identities. This is not a real controversy. They don't actually care about somebody doing that or not doing that. And comic book news is news. Why not? It's culture. But they just want to make the controversy out of it, and it's all about identity. Because if a woman does it, or if a minority man does it and tries to make a different sort of name, I mean, how many minorities just on Earth, like when they come to the United States, they've kind of stopped doing it the last 20 years, but before that, I mean, I got a buddy who's Chinese, and he's got a kind of difficult to pronounce Chinese real name. I know it. I'm not gonna name it here, but he changed his name when he came over to Joe Lee. And why did he change his name to Joe Lee? So he could sound like a white person on his resumes and all that, and make it something to get ahead, right? So that's okay. Nobody faulted anyone for doing that. In fact, it was encouraged by the media and encouraged by society to do that all along. So somebody making a pen name that actually homages. So background on Cebulski. If you go to his Twitter, the guy is like Mr. Anime Manga. He is so into anime and manga, like that like it's his passion. Like the guy's in love with Japanese culture. He lived over in China. I mean, this is the guy is bona fide into Asian culture of all sorts, right? So he loves it, and he lives it, He actually lives over there. And what's interesting is after this, the people in America, not in Japan or China, like the American writers start going after him, and they're actually living American culture, which makes it more ridiculous. So, it's not a big deal, is the bottom line, and I hate that the news has done this. But then it goes further. So I saw this link yesterday, and I started linking it. It's from Alyssa Wong, and Alyssa Wong is one of those like champion minority writers that has gotten ahead just because of her identity politics. And of course, she chimed in on this. So she went, and you know when it's like a personal attack rant, like that's like got several long tweets, that somebody's just being absolutely crazy. So here we are, a couple thoughts about Cebulski before I step away. Here we go. People are complicated. Fucking up doesn't cancel out good work that someone has done, but good work, well, he's really a good guy, also doesn't erase the real harm someone's done. Okay. Let's think about this. So, did he fuck up? I mean, he just made a pen name. Nobody cares that he made a pen name, nobody cared for 10 years that he made a pen name until now, where they wanted to generate some controversy on Bleeding Cool. So nobody cared. There was no mess up. There was nothing wrong here, and there was no. Here's the crazier part. Real harm. How did he harm anybody by writing a book and just putting a different name on it than his own? I mean, that doesn't harm anybody whatsoever, right? He had a ton of shocked, well, he was really nice to me. Well, here's the deal. There was no ugly anything exposed. I mean, notice there's no absolutes. Like, there's nothing moral here that she actually hits. He did something wrong, and he did harm. He did ugly shit. We can't say what it is. Notice she never says what he did that actually hurt anybody, who was hurt by it, or what was wrong, right? This is the outrage train at work, right? And of course she's got the blue check mark every single time. And then she goes off on Asian racism. There's no Asian racism with Cebulski. The guy frickin' lives in China. This chick lives in, where does she live? Let's look at her profile. This chick lives in North Carolina. Cebulski knows Asian culture way better than this chick. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't care what she looks like. She lives in North Carolina. He lives in China. All right? I mean, come on. He has the experience. He's not being racist. This is idiotic. All right? It makes me mad. Let's see. So where do we go? All right. So she goes off on that. Repeat offenders mask their bad behavior. Again, the guy just made a pen name. There was no masking with intent. So this is the funniest tweet of it all. This is the funniest part of it all. Mask their bad behavior with intentional niceness. They do folks favor, they make connections, and they appear generous. So the guy is so nice, and he's doing good stuff because he's bad. Like, that makes no sense at all. Like, she's accusing him of intentional niceness. I mean, she says this like it's a bad thing. Like why can't she be intentionally nice to him? Or us, or anybody. I mean, I wish he was kind to me, that scum. Yeah, right? So again, she just talks about, him being protected from whatever. I mean, he didn't do anything. One way you can take concrete action is to CB Cebulski bullshit, is to let Marvel know how fucked up it is. What is? She just said he was just intentionally nice and never said what he did or who he harmed. He didn't harm anybody. Support actual Asian diaspora. So here we go. Buy my books because I am this identity. You don't have other reasons to buy my books, but I'm this identity. So here it is. This whole chain was a self-serving thing to try to get people to buy her books. And that's all it is, which is fine. I do this all the time. And I want people to buy my books too, but I'm honest about it. Now, she'll take this as, this is not a thing to buy my books, blah, blah, blah. This is about my heritage and culture, blah, 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 blah. But the thing is, again, she's from North Carolina. She does not have Asian culture. She has North Carolina culture that she lives in. CB Cebulski. Let's look up CB. I'm gonna prove it again. CB Cebulski lives in Shanghai, China. He experiences Asian culture regularly. This is what he does. So there you go. I mean, it's crazy, right? North Carolina, throw your hands up. I'm not going to go there. Yeah, I mean, so bringing him to, so I mean, he's just nice. He posts about food. He posts about art, best new movies, Marvel's Runaways. He loves his Marvel books. I mean, there's nothing this guy did that's wrong at all. Like, he's not hurting anybody at all. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And this Alyssa Wong, so here's the thing is, so she's got the look. And so, she's using the look to do things, but she's half white. So she actually has a white parent and I guess a Japanese parent. So she doesn't have the pure identity as it is. So it's kind of ridiculous that her from North Carolina, from her white privilege culture, or whatever it is going off on this like this guy's doing any harm to anybody. It really bothers me. And it's all identity politics as a game to try to give herself cred so that people buy her books based on this controversy with somebody else, and that's all it is. And so the media is using it for clicks, right? Right? Also true. The media is using it for clicks because they can make some, quote, racist Marvel editor-in-chief controversy out of it, which is a fake controversy because the guy loves Asian culture. The guy loves Asian culture. He is just in love with it. That's not racism. That is the opposite of racism, right? My picture frame's moving back there. I don't know what that means. My camera's kind of shaky. I'm sorry about that. I'm holding it, right? So it's the opposite of racism. The guy loves Asian culture, and he tries to promote Asian culture at every turn, for real. And that is that's the bottom line. I mean, now I brought up another good point, that if people are actually outraged about some guy taking a minority's name to get ahead, right? So the theory here is that he used a minority name in order to use the fact that people buy minority products or editorial buys minority products or whatever to show their diversity. So he used this name to get ahead, and he used minority privilege to get ahead. So if you extrapolate this logically, this means that the entire media right now is admitting that white people are discriminated against in entertainment content, at the very least, and minorities are preferred, right? And therefore, him using that is bad because he's white. So it is an active attempt to hold white people down and to just say that minorities are superior to white people somehow. and that they're more deserving simply because they're minorities, and it admits this is actually going on. So anytime they go out there and start going, oh, they're discriminated against, they're not. They just proved that it's the opposite taking place, and they're outraged because somebody is using the fact that it's the opposite. This is the biggest swindle of all time. That's it. It is. It's just a big swindle, and it's the media trying to get clicks. And it's this chick who wrote these, award-winning whatevers, trying to get you to buy her books, which didn't win awards because she writes good books. It won awards because of her identity, and that's the problem. So that's CB Cebulski in a nutshell. I've talked about it enough now. I really want this to go away. I mean, I went to my comic shop yesterday, and the problem is the casual person on the street with all the fake news stuff, right? The casual person on the street sees this, right? So my comic shop guy, he just peruses comic news. He's a good guy. He does, he's not online, going and starting fights or anything. He's just perusing comic shop news. He sees these headlines all over because he's a comic shop owner, and he goes, "Oh my gosh, there's a controversy." I'm drinking. If you tuned in after this, I made my my protein shake in the morning. It's got some nice flaxseed and hemp seed in it. Good protein. But word of mouth is the worst thing, and everything operates based on word of mouth. Everything operates based on Comicsgate's not even on his radar. And I've broadcasted from his shop, and Comicsgate's still not on his radar. So that's pretty funny if you think about it. But yeah, word of mouth is everything. So when the entire media starts looping around this one fake controversy, unfortunately, comic shop owners go, "Ooh, this is scary. Is this editor-in-chief really racist and going to cause problems for my comic business?" Because they think about it in context of boots on the ground, their comic business, and so this is really dangerous behavior on behalf of the media, and it's messed up. And unfortunately, the tendency of people who are targets of this sort of thing are to please read SJWs Always Lie, by the way, because this is just from that book. The tendency of targets of this sort of thing are to do a couple things. One, to ignore it and to just be above the fray and show that you're really just working hard and all that. When you do that, they just keep attacking and keep attacking and keep attacking, just keep at it because nobody's fighting back. And eventually they'll use the fact that you don't fight back to prove that you really feel bad about it. Right? And they'll escalate the controversy. So this is going to be, because CB stays out of this sort of thing, he's going to get targeted by this further. The other tendency is to apologize for it, which I don't think he's done yet. And I really hope he doesn't. Once you apologize for it, then they really go out for blood. Never apologize to SJWs for anything, ever. They always try to extract an apology, and they'll try to threaten, like, if you don't apologize, then I'm going to get your, then I'm going to write letters to your blah, 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 get you fired, all that, right? That's what Alyssa Wong was trying to get him to do. But the minute he apologizes, if he apologizes for this, which he did nothing wrong, he made a pen name. It didn't hurt anybody. It didn't do anything. And he made a pen name of just Japanese character names that he loved. So, I mean, it's so ridiculous. All right? So, they try to get you to apologize. Don't apologize. If you apologize for something like this, they don't stop at that point. They don't go, yes, we did a good thing, we pat you on the back, we can be friends now. They're not after being your friend, and they're not after being honest. They're after blood, and they're after taking you down for your identity. They're not after anything else. They will go harder because at this point they'll go, even he says that he was wrong. This is such an outrage. How could anybody even hire him? And they'll try to get him fired. And that it will escalate. So don't, my advice, which he won't take, would be to say, this is ridiculous. I took a pen name. I love Japanese culture. These people are the real racists. And I would say, I would actually go on Twitter if I were him and call out Bleeding Cool for being fake news, call out IO9 for being fake news. And here's the only thing that could happen. You'll get Bleeding Cool and IO9 to hate you, right? They already hate you. They already hate you. Okay? They're already writing articles calling you a racist. That's in their minds, that's the worst thing you could possibly be, and you're a worst human being you could possibly be, right? So they're already calling you that. So you call them fake news. What does it do? It gets other media talking about you and your books, gets you more followers, gets people amped about Marvel, because you're taking on the media. Everybody hates the media. Readers hate the media. Voters hate the media. All people hate the media. Okay? Yeah, they want an IO9 writer writing the Black Panther book. That's very correct. That's the goal of the commentary media here, right? They're trying to they're crappy writers, all of them, and they want to supplant everything else, right? And that's the end goal. And then they want to just say they want to blur the lines of what quality is, so that people can't see what quality is objectively, so that they can be allowed into these positions. And that's the truth. So I would fight back. And I definitely call these people out. It's not going to happen. They never fight back. They never do. The only time we ever see these people fighting is when they do it and the media is on their side, like the Make Mine Milkshake thing, where there was nothing that happened. Nobody got bothered or harassed, really. The media went off on it, so everybody, and they went off on it to show their bona fides to the media. Well, did the media ever remember that about these creators next time? Like, did Cebulski, well, he was, part of Make Mine Milkshake. I mean, he was with Marvel when that was happening. Did they give him the benefit of the doubt at that point when they went to manufacture this stupid controversy? No. So they don't care. Nobody cares. The media are a bunch of liars, and you need to fight them. And that's the only way to do it. And I wish he would. He's not going to, because most people in these positions are still, I'd say they're a little older for the most part, and they didn't quite grow up with the internet like a lot of us have. I mean, I've got older fans too, but the people who are on the internet get this. And so they still think in this like old guard mentality, where if I just I gotta duck my head low, ignore the controversy, it'll go away, right? I don't think, I think on the front with Alyssa doing this as a publicity stunt, I think she's using it. I tell people this too, because when people attack me hard, I use it for marketing, right? And people question my sincerity in whether I'm actually upset that, John Scalzi called me a bunch of names on the internet or whatever, right? And they go, "You're just using this." I think that's, it's not a dichotomy there. I mean, I get very upset when I see that sort of thing happening to me. And I'll definitely talk about the Moshi guy from Tor in just a second. And I think that you can be outraged and also have the wherewithal to use it to your advantage also. And I don't really doubt her sincerity in that she's outraged. I think her outrage is a manufactured outrage just because she's reading the fake news and then jumping along and jumping with the bandwagon. Which it doesn't say anything to her sincerity about whether she believes it or not, but she bought into it. So on the Moshe Federer thing, Scalzi. Moshe Federer, not Moshe Federer. Federer is the great tennis player, and he's phenomenal. Moshe Federer is a Tor Books editor. He's like one of their big editors. He's edited a lot of people in the business, including I think even John C. Wright at some point. And he does Brandon Sanderson's work, I think, exclusively, and has forever. And back in September, what happened was I wrote an article that actually ran the numbers on short fiction professional work in science fiction and showed that men are actively discriminated against, 100% by the numbers. And Amazing Stories, which is a science fiction magazine involved in these sorts of things, picked it up and wrote about it on their blog and Facebook, mocking me. And Moshe Federer went on their comments there and said, this guy is not, he derped about me, and then went, this guy's not intelligent enough to write good books. So I never talked to the guy in my life. I'd only bought, if you look at my bookshelf, here we are. Here's my Brandon Sanderson collection right here, up here, down here. I mean, all these are Moshe Federer edited books. So that bookshelf is filled with Moshe Federer work right there. So I'd never interacted with him, never talked to him in my life. I just knew him from this, and because I'd spent so much money, on his stuff, I was pretty offended by that. So he called me. He basically just called me unintelligent when he'd never talked to me before in my life. And so now I'm actively boycotting Brandon Sanderson books because this guy is on the internet defaming me and calling me a bunch of names, and that's the thing with that. So this is my longest Periscope ever. Oh my gosh! But that's pretty much everything. Cebulski seems to be a good guy. I don't know about his editorial work. I know he's worked at Marvel for a long time. But everybody seems to like him on all sides, and that's why they are trying to shoot him down. I think the goal here is to get a woman minority in place as an editor-in-chief, and that's actually, at this point, that seems to be what the media is trying to get done, and try to get him fired before he even sets foot on the job, which doesn't make any sense. So I think that people inside Marvel like him enough to where this isn't going to matter, but I would like to see him fight back because this is fake news. So that's everything for today. Thank you very much for tuning in. Eat healthy, and I'll talk to you guys soon.